Splendid morning and welcome to Sports Central, brought to you live and exclusive on Spectrum Television. My name is Mfonitina. Quite excited to be back on your screens. Brand new week, a fresh week of new possibilities and everything that you ever want to achieve. We'll talk about all the trending stories in the world of sports. We'll look at fencing, basketball, tennis, as well as football, where we had the curtain raise of the Premier League upon us just yesterday. Arsenal ran away 3-0 winners over Manchester City. We'll talk about all of this on the flip side of the show. Remember, you can get to follow us on all social media handles. Head to Facebook, X Twitter, go to TikTok as well and hit the follow button. Most importantly, check us out on YouTube at our YouTube channel at Spectrum TV Nigeria. Now, just a quick preview. When we're back, the top stories in the world of sports. We'll start with fencing, whereas the first African nation to host a senior level fencing tournament, Nigeria, delivered a spectacular event at Rugby School Nigeria in Lagos, showcasing resilience, talent, and organizational excellence. Nigeria finished fourth overall, a remarkable achievement for the host nation. The star of the tournament was 17-year-old Ogedegara Thompson, who made history by winning Nigeria's first ever international gold medal in fencing. Adding to the triumph, Nigeria's debutant wheelchair squad contributed significantly, securing a majority of the silver and bronze medals. In total, Team Nigeria amassed 1 gold, 5 silver, and 18 bronze medals. India emerged as the undisputed champions, claiming 25 gold, 20 silver, and 18 bronze medals. Their dominance was evident throughout the 6-day competition, culminating in a clean sweep by their wheelchair team on the final day. England secured second place with 3 gold, 2 silver, and 9 bronze medals, while Wales edged Nigerians into fourth with let gold in the men's veteran sabre. South Africa rounded up the top 5 with 1 gold, 3 silver, and 1 bronze medal. Moving to basketball, where defending champions Dolphins began their 2026 Women's Basketball Premier League title defense on a winning note after defeating First Deepwater 59-46 in their opening game of the Atlantic Conference in Lagos on Sunday. Dolphins made a shaky start, trailing 17-13 at the end of the first quarter, but responded strongly in the second quarter to take a 34-25 lead into halftime. The champions maintained their momentum after the break, extending their advantage to 43-33 by the end of the third quarter before completing a 13-point victory. The result gives Dolphins an encouraging start to their campaign as they seek to retain the title they won last year. Dolphins claimed their second league title last year after defeating First Bank 61-55 in the playoff final. The triumph ended a 10-year wait for their second championship. Meanwhile, debutants Victoria Queens made a statement in their first Atlantic Conference game, thrashing IGP Queens 69-39 for a 30-point victory. Now to tennis, where Portuguese qualifier Jamie Faria stoned Ben Shelton after Cincinnati Open just yesterday, spoiling the Americans' hope of back-to-back Deep Masters 1000 runs. Faria started the match hot and never looked back in this 6-4, 6-4 win, taking advantage of a sluggish start from Shelton, who was competing in his first match since winning the Masters 1000 event in Montreal last week. The world number 79 in the ATP rankings broke Shelton in his second return game of the match and made life difficult for the American throughout the rest of the evening. The win marks the first top 10 win of Faria's career and also snapped Shelton's 6-match win streak. Next up for Faria is a third-round clash with Australia's Adam Walton, who defeated Ignacio Bush 6-4, 6-3 in his second-round match on Sunday. Now to football, where Cameroon won the 2026 CAF Women's African Cup of Nations for the first time after a commanding 3-0 victory over Malawi in Sunday's final at the Moulay El Hassan Stadium in Rabat. Marine Gar scored twice, and Naomi Njoa Eto'o added another as the indomitable Lionesses delivered a devastating first-half performance to finally end their long wait for continental glory. Nga opened the scoring in the 20th minute before Njoa Eto'o doubled Cameroon's advantage 10 minutes later. Nga then struck again in first-half stoppage time to give Cameroon a 3-goal lead at the interval. The victory made Cameroon the fourth nation to win the Women's Africa Cup of Nations, joining Nigeria, Equatorial Guinea, and South Africa. It also ended a painful run of 3 final defeats for the indomitable Lionesses, who had previously lost to Nigeria in 2004, 2014, and 2016. Now to Europe, where Premier League champions Arsenal produced a statement win over rivals Manchester City to lift the 2026 Community Shield in Cardiff. Mikel Arteta's side took the lead just after 23 seconds when Miles Lewis-Skelly slipped in Ricardo Califori, who slaughtered an effort past Manchester City goalkeeper Gianluigi Donnarumma. Arsenal then doubled the lead in the 28th minute through Kai Havertz's downward header after summer signing Christos Zolis had nodded Martin Odegaard's cross back across goal. 3 minutes into the second half, Zolis found Odegaard in the City box, and the Norwegian forced Donnarumma to the floor with an excellent fake shot before passing the ball into the opposite corner. The Gunners' victory gave the FA Cup holders The Gunners' victory over the FA Cup holders gave them their second trophy in 4 months and their 18th Community Shield title overall. And that's all we have for you on Sport Wrap Up this morning. We'll take a quick break. When we're back, conversation continues.
Moment to look at a critical talking point in the world of sports. It is Sports Central, and my name is Vladimir Kemp. On Sports Central this morning, part of the key talking point will center around growing concerns around sports development in Nigeria. We'll also look at the WAFCON coming to a conclusion yesterday as the Cameroonian side, the Indomitable Ladies, got a victory. The Lioness of Cameroon got a victory against Malawi, a resounding 3-0 victory in that one. And the awards also took center stage. Cameroon goalkeeper, being the goalkeeper of the tournament, the midfielder, turning out the midfield player of the tournament, and all of that. And then we'll talk about a fair play team in that regard. Algeria also finding that balance in the course of it. It's going to be a holistic conversation. We'll look at the world of tennis, the drama unfolding at the Cincinnati Open. It's a quite exciting one to talk about with the likes of Iga Swiatek pulling away from Arango to open Cincinnati defense in that regard. The NFF election also being one to really talk about in the course of the show. Meanwhile, Whitmer David is unavoidably absent, but I'm not alone in the house. And Fonitina, as you saw earlier, are being part of the mix. Well, Fonitina, good morning. Good to see you this morning.
Excited to be back. I think it's a very wonderful week, fresh week now. A lot of possibilities. I think after witnessing what happened in Oshun just over the weekend, it's given me a lot of hope about Nigeria. I think guys, it's good enough to start a week on a positive note.
Well, a good way to start a week on a positive note, something I've spoken about, especially with attraction taking place all the way from the Oshun election in that regard. Let's begin from non-football then, shall we? And then we transfer and move even further to the world of transfers and football stories in that regard, shall we? We begin non-football story from the world of cricket, as cricket Boniface named on the 19 Cricket World Cup qualifier in that regard. We're talking about good performances from the under-19 side, a Cricket World Cup Division 2 qualifiers in Rwanda, and Kenneth Boniface winning the most valuable player, Nigeria's Kenneth Boniface, the most valuable player award at ICC. Well, I'll start with one because we've been talking about traction from this.
Yeah.
I remember prior to which game, the game against Rwanda, you were talking about it, and not really keeping Nigeria in such a good position, but somewhat somehow they've qualified to tier as in
Yeah.
Rwanda. We're talking about Kenneth Boniface scoring 251 runs in
Yeah.
5 innings and took 10 wickets, featuring a brilliant 97 against Uganda and
Mm.
unbeaten 100 of 74 balls against Sierra Leone.
Yeah.
Most valuable player from Nigeria.
Well, I think one to look at for when you look at what he's been able to do for himself. Now I'm looking at the next 6 years, probably seeing Kenneth Boniface with the likes of the captain of the Sana, what's his name, Suleiman, and who's in the with the senior yellow greens now. This is junior yellow greens, the under-19 stage. So we're looking at the future, not really what's happening right now. But good for them. They've qualified for the tier one. Now we'll get to amidst the big boss. I just hope we don't get relegated back down, because that's going to be really sad. Because I hear this is almost like the Nations League, what we're seeing in the UEFA Nations League. You play every year, and then if not doing so well, you get down. If you're doing well, you get promoted. So good to see the junior yellow greens up there now with the best of the best side. And for Kenneth Boniface, one for the future, because there'll be lots of attention on him, within the MVP of the tournament. Even though Nigeria didn't win the tournament, that's to show you how important he's been, how pivotal he's been to the team. So congratulations to Kenneth Boniface. They're already back in town. Yesterday they had to present the trophy and everything to the NCF president. It was quite exciting to see. I feel cricket, apart from football, cricket has to be. If I were to give an award now, say most improved sport or most improved federation, I have to give it to cricket. They've done a lot. I remember 5 years ago, no one was talking about cricket in Nigeria. But in the last 2 to 3 years, we've had cricket come up. It's even doing better than basketball, arguably, if you want to put it that way. Because you look at basketball, especially in the men's category, I look at it, we place it side by side. The successes we've had with cricket has eclipsed that we've had with, talking about, basketball and cricket. So now I expect more from the Cricket Federation. They said to whom much is given, much is expected. But I think we're not even giving them much in this case. So I hope the federal government, the Ministry of Sport, the National Sports Commission, start taking the Cricket Federation very seriously, because who knows? We're talking about 3 years and we're already doing this. Imagine if we give them the development, the innovation, and everything they're looking for. Then maybe we might start competing with the likes of Zimbabwe, the biggest, cricket, nations even in the world, Australia, and the rest of them. So I have a lot of expectation and optimism about this particular federation.
And now that you've brought this up, especially talking about the party-led board of
Yeah.
the Cricket Federation in that regard, it becomes a question to ask,
Mm.
what's really that's been working out? Remember, before the cricket board started, there were back and forth, lots of critical issues in terms of administration, who would be the president and all of that. But we've had stability with We Are Party in that direction. What do you think our cricket board are doing differently that others are not doing?
Well, I think it's obvious. It's just that I think cricket, no one has really paid attention to it yet. So now everything that's happening the right way. They're not really looking at it as a cash monger at this point. Look at football, for example. There are a lot of eyes in football in Nigeria. You know, the politicians and everybody are putting their eyes there. Yeah.
When you look at cricket, it's still not very popular.
Yeah, still not very
You
popular.
ask a common man about cricket, they know nothing about it.
Exactly.
Apart from maybe journalists and those sports that are following it. Even some sports administration have no idea about what's the workability of cricket.
Yeah.
Also here, Aquarium started so well recently. I've had a cricket requirement seem to be dead.
Basically what it is now. Look at it now. I feel if cricket was as huge as football or basketball, you start hearing things like slot, Western quarter, Northern quarter, and all of that. But right now, everything is done the right way. We don't have too many cricket players in the nation, so you can't even start talking about slot. You can't even start talking about this person has to be the Cricket Federation president. This one has to be the vice president, all of that, because no one is paying attention to it. It's basically that's why cricket is working in the country for me. And I think it's very sad because I feel in the next 5, maybe 6 to 7 years when we're serving Nigeria, maybe go to the Cricket World Cup, the ICC World Cup, we might start having these should I say hawks, these vultures, circle around that federation, and we start having some dilapidation in the cricket federation. But I just hope it doesn't happen.
So instead of money helping Nigeria, from tonight directly saying money's a problem, when money starts coming into the sports, it becomes a problem because everyone is boarding around, they're trying the best they can to see how they benefit from what's coming, especially from the international federation. So it doesn't really happen for Nigeria yet. In rugby, Nigeria seems a lot closer at the time, but it's basically what it is. We'll see how it pans out moving forward. But one key thing is much of the credit goes to the head of the Cricket Federation, president of the Cricket Federation in Nigeria, We Are Party, in terms of the vision, in terms of organization. And they play lots of tournaments comparatively to even some other federations in the country. So quickly, let's go to fencing then and talk about the fact that India has topped the medal table to win the 2026 Commonwealth Fencing Championship that took place in Lagos, while Nigeria, the host nation, finished fourth in that direction. The games took place, the 6-day tournament took place at a rugby school, Nigeria, in a co-Atlantic city, featuring competitors from 20 nations. India well dominated, as one would say, in that direction, achieving a massive performance, 63 total medals in total, and Nigeria made history by achieving its highest ever placement and the first ever gold medal in the competition. Unfortunately, I was talking about sports that are growing in Nigeria. I will get a look at I'll get to mention the details in terms of the rankings, in terms of the medals won. First gold medal for Nigeria, this one. But historical gold medal for 17-year-old Ogenegeren or Siave Thompson, who won Nigeria's only gold medal in the tournament, making him the nation's first ever Commonwealth Fencing Championship a gold medalist. Sometimes people will say it's good to host a tournament. Maybe we give a leeway to some of the talents within the country, and now we've gotten the first gold medal in fencing. I think it's basically what it is, because I feel if Nigeria had to travel, maybe to another nation to take part in this tournament, we don't have maybe most of these athletes who've competed. Maybe a 17-year-old couldn't be part
exactly, because the logistics problem. We always have that problem with Nigeria, trying to take all the athletes, to the competition. It's always going to be a problem, logistics and everything. So it's basically, just like you said, when a nation hosts, it's easier to, get, an athlete who's probably somewhere, in the country to just get to that particular state where it's being hosted and, get to participate in the tournament. So quite excited about it. But still, I don't like being the one that, looks at the negative aspect of things a lot, because it feels like it's almost a recurring thing now. But looking at it, I think Nigeria performed more in the, the disabled sports or disabled fencing, because let me not call it disabled now. The, how would I put it now? Wheelchair fencing. That's when Nigeria had bulk of the medal. So it still shows that there's a lot of work to be done when it comes to the main fencing competition, because I'm sure other countries do not really pay. That's why we see Nigeria doing so well at the Paralympics, but when we get to the Olympics, we cannot do well because other nations have not really looked at that Paralympic, competition as a huge forte. So for Nigeria, it's still something to talk about. But I just hope in the coming days, Rome was not built in a day. So I have to give kudos to the Fencing Federation. In fact, the chairman of the federation himself had to lead from the front. He also won a medal for Team Nigeria. Yeah, Samuel.
Absolutely.
He won a medal for Team Nigeria as well. So good to see him leading from the front. I'm just asking myself, if we have an opportunity where Ibrahim Gusau is asked to maybe go represent the country, what would he do for football? It's basically the thing. So it's just that this man,
a different kind of sports anyway.
Doesn't matter.
A different kind of sports.
How prolific was Gusau in his days? That's the question.
How would he want Gusau to go on the field and play football for it?
Samuel competed against other veterans. It was not just there. It was not against pro fencers. It was against veterans. So people like him, in other federations. I'm asking if Ibrahim Gusau has to compete against maybe the UEFA president and maybe the likes of Gianni Infantino, how would he perform?
I don't understand you sometimes. You want the UEFA president and Infantino.
Those are men. Those are men who were actually prolific in their time.
Football is a different kind of sports. You can advance in age and still be able to play fencing. Because you just hit and do
you need
stuff.
a lot of agility.
Somehow you're playing with your mates anyway in that direction anyway. But he's a lot younger. Talking about Adenka Samuel, a lot younger compared to the likes of Gusau in this one, and his return to action after 13-year absence to win a silver medal in the men's veteran sabre. It makes all the difference. Quite a good one in terms of the numbers. Gold medal: India 25, England 3, Wales 2, Nigeria 1, South Africa 1. So, and that's the ranking: number 1 England, number 2 number 1 India, number 2 England, number 3 Wales, and number 4 Nigeria, number 5 South Africa. India amassing a total of 63 medals of 14 total medals for England. Wales 6, Nigeria a total of 24. But when you're not able to get gold medal, that's why you end up finishing second. Nigeria's gotten just 1 gold medal compared to Wales, and that's why Wales is third, Nigeria fourth in that direction. And now let's quickly switch again and talk about basketball. Before we draft in basketball, it was Dolphin beginning NBPL title defense with 59-46 win. For the time, we've talked about prolification that comes with this one, especially the basketball league, but we're seeing the performance of Dolphin quite good.
Well, I think it's just basically, continue from where they left off last season. Last season, they won their second championship. And this season, I'm sure they'll try to build on that. The momentum is there for them. I think they've got one of the best teams in the country when it comes to basketball. A lot of basketballers in the country want to play for Dolphins. I have a friend who, was in the trials for them, couldn't get it to the men team. But still, I'm sure every single, female basketballer in the country wants to play for the Dolphins because they're one of the best teams. They're also one of the teams with the larger pockets. They pay better than the other nation, or than the other team. So quite exciting to see them back in action and getting a win in their very first game. Hopefully, the rest of the competition is as smooth as that first game for them.
Well, we got to see how it happens. A slow start for Dolphins in this one. They had to trail 17-13 at the end of the first quarter. At halftime, going all the way and grabbing in the second half quarter, extended victory 43-33 by the third quarter for a ceiling 13-point win in regard. The basketball club started their 2026 women championship with a 59-46 victory over Festive Water on Sunday. And now we move ahead, still in the context of Nigeria, and look at the volleyball competition as Nigeria teams apart for 2026 African Beach Volleyball Championship. And away from that, we're expecting them to perform quite well. But quickly, let's switch here and talk about the world of tennis, the Cincinnati Open, the likes of Farah upsetting Shelton in Cincinnati. And we're talking about them aiding their first top 10 victory in this. The likes of TN also are getting a better Sebastian Bias in this one to progress in Cincinnati. Ojala Asima Felix defeating Sissipas in the first match in 40 days. Well, function, I said, like the Cincinnati Open, the big guns are struggling a bit in that direction. First, we talk about Farah beating Ben Shelton. If you put it side by side, I expect Ben Shelton to go all the way and get a victory. It didn't happen. The first top 10 win for the likes of Farah. And then the likes of Tien also beating Sebastian Bayer. Not too shocking, many would say. But Felix Ujala Sima against Sissipas The struggle for Tsitsipas continues in the first match in 40 days. Ijala Sima getting a victory.
Well, I will start with the first story now. Ben Shelton, I think he just won last week in Montreal, went all the way to the finals, won the competition, and it was always going to be a very, very difficult thing for him to just switch attention from that to the next competition in a matter of days. I know the big guns have done it time and time again, but still, I know the big guns have done it time and time again. But for Ben Shelton, I think it's still something that's not really used
Except
to.
when the tournament is far off, but
Yeah.
if it's within the USL or US, what's the struggle?
Yeah.
Just a switch game, maybe a tougher tournament, you might say.
But for Ben, I'm just giving the benefit of that because I cannot say he won the other one and now he's not good enough. I think it's basically fatigue. It has to be fatigue. It has to be fatigue. Jamie Vardy is outside the top 17 in the world.
It happens all the time.
I don't think it's about being outclassed. For me, I'm going to be very honest. I think it was about fatigue for Ben Shelton. You cannot just win a 1,000 Masters 2 days ago and the next you're losing to a 76th ranked player. I think it's fatigue. It's definitely fatigue for Ben Shelton. He's not used to it yet.
If you're now talking about I have a problem when you say it's definitely fatigue, because sometimes where's the place of complacency? Where's the place of other factors that play factors?
Well, I don't think it's complacency. I don't think it is. I don't think it is.
If you have Ben Shelton be going into a game against Fire, wouldn't you think you've won it already?
Well, maybe that's another way to look at it. But for me, I think it's left to be seen how far he can go in this competition. Because if he gets beaten by the next opponent, then trust me, I'm still going to stand by the fact that it was fatigue. I want to see how far he can go because for me, Ben Shelton just had an off day. For me, but it never really clicked into second gear for him. So
and you can have off day without it being fatigue. So I have to puncture that point otherwise. But other games that took place were also saw the likes of Stefano Tsitsipas struggling there against Felix Ujala-Sima. But in the women's game, let's talk about a women's performance. Coco Gauff improving to 5-0 against Samsonova to reach Cincinnati a 10th round, just like Arena Sabalenka ripping to Team AC some points, and Gossiday and Cici to beat Gibson. The likes of Iga Swiatek also had to pull away from Arango to open Cincinnati defense in this one. Unfortunately, let's talk about the big girls here, and the big ladies are showing it. Men would say just early days, but along the fact that the numbers are counting, Iga Swiatek here, Arena Sabalenka here, Coco Gauff here, and then the stakes are high in Cincinnati. Probably wonder who might go all the way to win it, but recent form, a recent performance for some of these guys. Iga Swiatek not so good. Coco Gauff, I do not think so either.
Well, I think I'll start with Iga Swiatek. Unlike Ben Shelton, Iga Swiatek won the Montreal Open, last week as well. And now she's winning the first game. So some would say maybe there are people that can do it.
Absolutely.
Maybe there are people that can do it. So congratulations to Iga Swiatek. I want to see how far she can go. When you put Arango, side by side with Iga Swiatek, of course, Iga Swiatek's achievements, dwarfs whatever Arango's been able to do in her career. So definitely we expected her to get that win. Then we talk about the likes of Arena Sabalenka, world number 1, have 13 aces in that particular. That's her most this single year. Looks like she's finally clicking into get. This year has been slower compared to last year we saw for Arena Sabalenka. For Cory Kokokov, I just have been, I don't know, she's been underwhelming the last 1.5 years for me. I think if there's any competition she would want to use to give us some sort of a resurgence, it has to be the Cincinnati Open. But we've got Arena Sabalenka, we've got Iga Swiatek in this competition, so it's going to be difficult for her. But I think she's got a lot of work to do because I can remember last time we talked about Cory Kokokov winning a championship. So very sad, but still a good way to start for her.
A good way to start for her. Some of the games that have taken place today in the men's category, I know we've spoken about the likes of Farah getting better up and Shelton, but Lorenzo Sonego was beaten by Francis Tiafoe in this one. Tiafoe, a senior 17, that the Cincinnati opening that, and on. I think we're looking at the next round, round 32, with the likes of Ferry against Alex Dimino, Hijikata against Mancic, moving forward. And quickly, for women, it's part of it. I'll just give you a roundup of it and what we're expecting. Now, Iga Swiatek, I will take on Maria Sakkari, first senior player in this competition. Iga Swiatek in the round of 32 against Maria Sakkari. And we're talking about who else now, top level performer now, that we're talking about. I think that's the biggest name. But Vitolina also had a victory despite losing the first set against Valentova. She got a holistic victory at the end of it. And I will go on a quick break, and when we're back, the conversation continues even further. We'll be talking about football stories all around the world. The WAFCON would also take Sanders as a charity shield in England was one to really talk about a post Pep Guardiola era and what next in the world of transfers. Don't go anywhere. You'll be right back. Welcome back at Sports Central. My name is Bladen Kim. A continuation of what we've been talking about earlier, and now it's time to look at football stories around the world. Funny thing has still me for company going nowhere, and football, here we go. Let's begin with a key conversation around the world. Football would be the preseason of Sporting Lagos beat Remo Stars to win 2026 Value Jets Cup. Quite exciting in Nigeria. So when you talk about preseason games and all of these cups, a picture to what happens next at Nigeria Premier Football League. We're all ready for it, and I hope it is a quick bite. A preseason in Nigeria taking center stage. Sporting Lagos beating Remo.
Oh, definitely. I think it's just what it is at the moment. It's been a while we've seen preseason when it comes to Nigerian football. So it's always going to be that particular thing when it comes to, preparations ahead of the new season. Sporting Lagos, they'll be playing in the NPFL next year. For Remo Stars, they'll be playing in the NNL. So looks like different fortunes for both sides. At the end of it, I expected Sporting Lagos as the NPFL team to get the better of the opponent, and they did that. So good preparatory ground for them. Let's see what the new season holds for Sporting Lagos.
A new season, a new direction we talk about in terms of where you're playing and where you're not, and what a consequence could be. We've seen it even in the preseason game. But we switch gear totally and look at the projected electoral committee initiatives and doing final checks regarding verification and candidate. We're talking about electoral committee beginning final checks on nomination form ahead of the NFF elections. Well, funny thing now, it's been something that's spiraled from the WAFCON poor performance. Everyone is talking about, well, Ibrahim Guzwa should still be in charge of the NFF and all of that. Administrative problem. Men have argued it's not just administrative problems, but electoral committee, they're beginning a final check on nomination forms moving forward.
I think if we had a working football, system in this country, we'll start having state FHS, calling for Ibrahim Gusau to resign, just like what we have in FIFA at the moment. That shows your working system. You cannot just have a poor, let's say, a result or a poor output in a particular period of time, and then you still want to go for re-election, that doesn't make sense to me. So the fact that the NFF are saying, this is basically them saying we're still going ahead with the election because we hear a cross-section of stakeholders ask for the elections to at least be put in abeyance for now. But they said we're going ahead with the September date. I think it's 26th. We have a match between the Super Eagles and Madagascar on 25th. So we'll have the elections 26, 27 or thereabout. So the NFF is basically saying everything is still going to go ahead according to plans and all of that.
Why should they change the plan?
I think we need to look at what's really the problem of the country. Or maybe the current NFF board say, okay, finally, we've not been able to do what we should do. Let's resign.
But it infringes on their right to.
Doesn't
as
infringe,
individuals.
Doesn't infringe.
If you say they have to resign and not stand elections.
It shows you have a conscience as an individual. You know you're not doing well. Why? What are you going for again? That's basically the thing.
Maybe correct the mistakes they made and what they couldn't solve in the course of it. Yes, they've learned and they said, well, we know you bring in a new person, it's a fresher also. It makes the same mistakes we made. Maybe now we really understand the dynamics and we can correct it.
They've been here for 3 years now.
Yes.
Is it 3 years? Yeah, 3 years now. This is the 4th year. That's why they're going for the 2nd term. So what do you want to learn?
Because the other conversation is not always easy administratively, especially when you realize that it comes with a lot of funding, a way to get money, government support and all of that.
I don't think the Football Federation can use funding as an excuse. They are the most funded federation in Nigeria when it comes to sports. Look at basketball. Look at cricket. We're talking about doing so good even without the funding. And football doesn't have that excuse at all. I think the NFF is just poor because we have the wrong individuals at the top and in vital positions. So at the end of it, they can go ahead with the election, but still Nigerians on the street are having their verdict. We've lost trust. We've removed our vote of confidence. Yes, the FHS from the states are probably going to go back there and vote Ibrahim Gusau, but we, the individuals, the football journalists and everyone on the street who loves football in this country, who loves sports, we understand that we are having a rot currently. And I just hope they get to sort it out soon enough.
How many hopes that comes with this one? A massive performance. We're going to talk about, let's leave Nigeria and go to Africa. And where it concerns many, the most is that for the first time we have a new champion of African women's football, the Women's Nations Cup. Cameroon defeating Malawi. Debutant Malawi in this one got all the way to the final. But it seems that cup was full. They couldn't be able to have the answers with what the Cameroonians were bringing for them. And basically at the end of it, we're talking about a fantastic game. Marianga Manga opening the scoring via header for Cameroon, and even further, we're talking about the likes of Nami Njwa Eto extending the lead before halftime to put Cameroon comfortably ahead, and it ended 3-0, a clean sheet. A dominant performance broke Cameroon's streak of 3 previous losses in WAFCON final, 2004, 2014 and 2016. Malawi finished a remarkable debut tournament, having reached our first ever final and secured a World Cup qualification. Well, Fontaine, what does this mean for African football? Cameroon, for the first time after 3 tries, are getting to be champions of Africa. They most of the times been beaten by Nigeria in the course of it in the final, but now getting to win it. And debutants Malawi getting to the final.
Well, I think the biggest point for me yesterday was seeing Samuel Eto'o right there on the field, giving hugs to the players, as the Football Federation.
What was he supposed to do? And when I saw that, I had a fear. Remember the Keys Gate situation with Spain at the World Cup when they won it. I was the man now, and I went and kissed a player.
My point is that, according to Samuel Eto'o, he's been branded as a black sheep so he can leave that position as the Federation president. But he's been doing a lot. You look at Cameroon football, in the few years he's been in charge, and maybe 5 years before he came in charge, Cameroon is still running on past glory, the glories of the early 2000s, which Samuel Eto'o actually, brought to Cameroon. And now he's trying to bring back those glory days, and it's starting now. The Cameroonian ladies have won their first ever WAFCON title. They've been to the finals 3 times, 2004, 2014, 2016. They've lost all of that, and now they've finally gotten it. It shows you that when you put the right people in charge, you'd always have the right things. It's basically what it is.
Valentina, because of one now, Samuel Eto'o is the right person.
He's the right person.
Over the years, there have been complaints about corruption, match fixing.
With Samuel Eto'o, things have not worked out. He's been set up. What would you say,
the
previous people in charge want to come back?
What would you say, Fontaine? We hit the tips, Cameroonian Eto'o's voice at the time,
matter.
And all of that. And many said the reason. Many said the reason.
We're looking at the result.
No matter how they go about it, anyway, at the end of it.
It's not how they've gone about it in the right way. They want it the right way.
Cameroon, somehow, have not really done well under Samuel Eto'o.
I think
That's
they're
the first
getting
time
better. I think
they've
they're
won.
getting better.
And it makes sense. We can understand. We can give him a pat at the back.
Yeah.
We've seen the battle that's taking place with the coaches that's come to Cameroonian football. We've seen the division in Cameroon football over time. The radical situation with Samuel Eto'o.
That's not caused by Samuel Eto'o.
And finally, Eto'o has won it. Eto'o now is the Saints. Over the years, everyone has talked about how terrible his administration has been. And just because the Cameroonian teams have won, well, that's what you get. Maybe last year, maybe we should cut Madugo some slack then. Because, hold on, fun. Because with Maduga, they won last year. Yeah. But everyone says, because they've not won this year, they're terrible.
I think for Samuel Eto'o, if you want to look at the division that's been happening in Cameroon football, especially with the coaching and all of that, it's always about the, what do they call it now? Just like the Minister of Sport in Nigeria and the NFF chair. And the Minister of Sport is loyal to the other faction that wants to put Samuel Eto'o out. So sometimes they hire a coach without even telling Samuel Eto'o is the Football Federation chairman.
Eto'o has been man corrupt anyway. That's it. Anyway, the good thing is when you win, all seem to be in your favor. When things are bad, everyone beats you around, and that's been the story of Samuel Eto'o and the Cameroonian side. Quickly, our key talking point would be the awards that took place in this one. The Golden Boots winner, we're talking about Temwa Chawinka, and the Malawi went forward in that direction, scored 5 goals, 2 assists. About how many players? 5 players had 5 goals in that regard, but she had 2 assists, and she's a comma. And the woman of the competition, we're talking about Monique Nkok, she's been absolutely fantastic in midfield. I was watching her in this final, so dominating. I watched her against Nigeria. She was dominating in midfield.
There's been a lot of uproar about that particular award. People think it should have gone to the Cameroonian goalkeeper. Even her herself, when she was told to go get the award, she was like, "Are you talking to me?"
Yeah, because people don't pay attention to defensive work and solidity in midfield in recent times. People pay attention to fluidity, but she's been...
When you talk about the best player, you have to stand out to be a best player. You cannot go under the red and say you're the best player. Why go under the red?
Probably didn't notice, but when we talking
about... I didn't notice that against Nigeria. Nigeria completely took charge of that midfield. There was a non-existent midfield in that Cameroonian match against Nigeria.
That's not true. Then
what did they do in the midfield?
Why did Nigeria not break down?
Why did the goalkeeper had to make 11 shots?
Did you notice the goalkeeper before the Nigeria game?
She's made 3 clean sheets at this tournament. Of course, I noticed that.
But before the goalkeeper makes a clean sheet, the midfield must be solid. If you have a breakdown in midfield, she's not going to make clean sheets.
I'm not saying she's not a good player. I'm saying you cannot be under the radar and be the best player.
The point is
the best player stands out.
The argument is you didn't notice. The goalkeeper, we really started noticing the goalkeeper against Nigeria, and afterwards, the next game.
Well, if the player herself didn't believe she was the best player,
she was so good. She was good.
If the player herself didn't believe she was the best player, who am I?
It goes back to the conversation about being flamboyant. These days, when you want the best player of the tournament, we mostly talk about a flamboyant player at the end of it. But it is what it is. Let's give her the credit that she deserves, as far as I'm concerned. Orlando Pirates cruise past Chippa United as Sterling Wabale concedes 3 in that direction. And Chukwueze embraces new Milan role under Ruben Amorim. Well, we expect what happens with Ruben Amorim. I
think Samuel Chukwueze is having a good time. Just reminds me of Amad Diallo at Manchester United. I think he's going to be one of the biggest beneficiaries of that Ruben Amorim tenure.
Well, let's see how it works out. We're only hoping that for him. And when it gets to happen, as Gambia return home after a long period, as CAF-approved Independent Stadium. Good for Gambia. We're about to close. Community Shield, Arsenal cruise to Community Shield win. It could have been a conversation. We don't have time to talk about it, as they dismantled Manchester City in this one. And Barcelona agrees £65 million deal to sign Rodri from City, a part of the woes of City, as we see. As Liverpool target Bacola, not in Paris Saint-Germain squad, as Lens win Super Cup, just like Jacquet scored on debut as Liverpool beat Como in final friendly, and Forest beat Awuni. A farewell ahead of Coventry transfer. Ronaldo